It gives it a little more variation in what was otherwise kind of just a plain, boring, straight hat. We just want some kind of life to it, you know, some variation, some flavor, because flavor is the flavor of life.
Hit the button cause I'm trying to get my subs up. I know you feeling this, so hit it with a thumbs up.
What's going on, YouTube community? It's your guy Henry here. I spell it with a 3 and I throw it up like this. Today's t-shirt comes from Producer Grind for the outstanding parody logo long sleeve tee, and I hope everyone had a safe and fun 420. You can find Producer Grind right here. A lot of great merch, tutorials, and content, and more. Check them out. Today's TV background, it's a drum set, because we're talking about hi-hats. And there's a hi-hat right about here. I can almost... So speaking of hi-hats, how do we sauce up our hi-hats and our beats? I'm here today to talk about one method that I personally use, and it's a popular plugin in the hip-hop industry especially. It's similar to a gross beat on FL Studio. For those of us that don't use FL Studio, it's called Effectrix. It has a number of different effects you can use at specific times by filling in blocks on a grid, and I find it especially helpful for saucing up hi-hats when your hi-hats are just lacking, you know? Sometimes the hats need that little extra salt, a little more sugar on the hats. We've all been there. It's okay. So I pulled up a beat called Saloon that I made with my brother Ace Taylor. I'll put his socials in the description below, and you can actually hear the full beat on my beat channel. I'll put a link to that video somewhere over here in the corner. I've turned off the Effectrix that we had in the original beat so I can use it now for demonstration. So before you comment, hey, this sounds different than the beat on your beat channel, I'm aware of that. Here's what it sounds like. A nice groove, little Western kind of sounding guitar, some hard drums, but the hat is noticeably stale, right? We just kind of have some straight notes alongside this reverse and these open hats. So we're going to use Effectrix to add some extra sauce. Let's go ahead and add one onto the hat track now. Boom. And automatically you see all our different effects. And this is the grid where we punch in the time that we want the effects to be triggered. First thing I'm going to do is change this from 1/32 to 1/8, so the grid moves slower and we have more time before the effects kind of repeat and we run less of a risk of sounding repetitive. And you can see the grid is now moving 4 times as slow because 32 and 8. Yeah. Let's go ahead and jump in and start painting some squares. I'm going to start with the X loop. Let's go ahead and put a guy right here before the turnaround. I'm going to change it to 30-second roll. I'm going to lower the size a little bit, and I'm going to lower the pitch change. And that gives us that nice little pitch down roll. And for most of these effects, I'm going to be turning the mix knob down so we're not getting the full effect. A lot of these can sound like too much when you keep the mix at 100, so I'll be adjusting accordingly. You should too. I like that right around 50% mix. Moving on to the loop, it's going to give us a similar roll kind of effect, so we can maybe keep this one at 16th notes. Let's lower the speed maybe a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and drop the mix because I know I'm not going to want it at full. See what that sounds like. I like to really tinker with the speed here and find something that really works in the context of the beat that I'm working on. I like to mix a little higher on this one and just a little under 100% speed to give it a little something different from the original pitch. Those sound good. Let's go ahead and move on to the reverse, which is one of my favorite effects inside of Effectrix. And I'm just going to paint some of these on the 2s of every bar. I'm going to choose quarter reverse from the preset menu here and see what it sounds like. Definitely getting the reverse effect, but I think we can lower the time ever so slightly so that it gets a little bit more of the reverse feel. And we're going to turn the mix down to around 50% again. And that kind of creates a cool effect with the reverse open hat that was in there. It's kind of this first reverse on the Effectrix leading into the longer reverse that I have on a separate track. Kind of makes that. And for shits and gigs, we might do a long reverse at the end of this line here. I enjoy that. I enjoy that a lot. Moving on down, the effect list on Effectrix. With them effect bricks, that's why I don't rap. We've got the vinyl, which is going to give you that record player tape stop kind of effect. I'm going to use this preset called Sweet Scratch, and I'm going to bring that mix knob on down. It's pretty subtle how we use it here. Oh, God. It's pretty subtle how we used it here, but it gives it a little more variation in what was otherwise kind of just a plain, boring, straight hat. We just want some kind of life to it, you know, some variation, some flavor, because flavor is the flavor of life. Next, I'm going to try the tonal delay. I'm going to drop a few of these guys in right about here. Listen to what that does. Gives it kind of like a tingy, almost robot-y kind of feel. We're going to turn the mix knob down, of course. But it's just another little subtlety to keep things interesting. And one thing I've seen people do is layer the tonal delay with the phaser. So I'm going to go ahead and put in some parallel notes on the phaser. Maybe try one of these presets that call out to me in the tube. Because we're in the tube, or on the tube. It's got tube in the name, so I'm going to use it. Mix knob down. Gives it just a little more juice, you know, a little bit of... The last one I'm going to go over is this chorus effect. I've punched it in a few places here, and you can hear what it's doing is almost sounding like a second hi-hat in one. It's 2-for-1 combo special. Two hats for the price of one. You cannot beat these deals. What do you think we're doing with the mix knob, though, here? Bringing it down. Downtown. And just like that, in a matter of minutes, we've gone from a hi-hat that sounds like this to a hat that sounds like this. Instant sauce. Your hats have been supercharged. Download Effectrix today. You can use it on way more than just hats. This is just one good example of how I use it in my production. I hope you've learned something from this video today. Until next time, please like, subscribe, comment on this video if it was helpful to you at all, because then I'll know it was helpful, and then I can keep making things that are helpful. Because, right? 3 out.
I'm on the tube, on the tube, on the tube, yeah. I'm on the tube, on the tube, on the tube, whoa. I'm on the tube, on the tube, on the tube, yeah. I'm on the tube, on the tube, on the tube.